We are here with Jelena Kovacevic, a professional writer, researcher, and a devoted student of the human psyche for a fun, compassionate exploration of this primal emotion. Jelena's background is in the humanities, ranging from cultural linguistics to peace studies, inclusion, and equality. So, welcome, Jelena. We are so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Dushan. I'm really thrilled to be here. This is a topic that is very close to my heart. And I'm hoping that you all walk away today with something applicable that helps you in these crazy times that we're all living in, right? I've chosen a topic that I find is very relevant. And I'm soon going to open with a few questions for you. And as I was pondering these questions, I realized that all of you, including myself, so all of us, probably would have answered them a little differently a little over a year ago. Perhaps something has changed in at least us realizing maybe how angry we are or how we deal with it. You heard from Dushan, you read my short bio. You know that I'm a writer, and writers are by nature very curious, right? So I have this fairly disjointed CV. I've done a lot of different things, pursued a lot of educational paths, formal and informal. I've held a lot of jobs. I live a very global life. I grew up in Europe. I spent my 20s doing different things and also going to school in the United States. And for the past decades, about a decade, I've been living in Thailand, Southeast Asia. And whatever I did, whichever job I had, I felt like there was really this secret mission that I was on. And that was, like a true writer, people watching and trying to make sense of relationships, watching myself as well in relationship with all these different cultures and all these different things. With this question, what is it to be human? What makes us human? What is this human experience? And if we know what it is, how can we make life easier for ourselves? And what I'm going to talk about today has been one of my fairly recent life hacks. When I got pregnant 2 years ago, I found myself at this yet new exploration of our emotions, first and foremost. I'm currently in a 6-year-long program. It's really a therapy school, but it uses a somewhat unique and modern integrative approach where we are working with ourselves as subjects. And we are doing a lot of body-oriented therapy, which I found to be really helpful in talking about emotions. So without further ado, I would like to invite you to type into the chat box whenever you have a question. I will address your questions in the end, but right now I have a few questions for you. So please join me as we explore this topic together. So my first question for you today is, how many people do you know who have a good grasp on their anger? And I'll explain what I mean by that. So people who, first of all, they're aware that they're angry. They can they can feel it when it happens for them, when something upsets them, right? Second of all, they're able to express it without exploding or imploding. And they're also able to use this anger as some kind of a signpost. They're able to, all said and done, they express it and then they look at it and they try to see, okay, what was this about? Why did I get so upset? How many people do you know who are like that? Do you know anyone? 2. Okay, very good. Someone knows 2. Are you among them? Are you one of the 2? Okay, no. Oh. 1, okay. Well, we all know a lot of people. 0, there we go. Okay. Very few, I'm not one of them. I hear you, Amelia. Yes, one. Yes, exactly. One. And just think how many people you really know. How many people you've crossed paths. Few, I'm one of them. Wow. That's very admirable. I hope I still have something to offer to you today. Please stay with us as we look at this topic. But here we are. The first question, and we already are realizing that dealing with emotions overall, and especially anger, whether we're talking about family life, workplace, it's not really addressed, right? I mean, I live between three continents. I worked in all these international organizations, and this is not something that is talked about. And I personally think it's important to talk about it at all times. But at the times of a crisis like this, it becomes paramount. There we go. Who we have only one person in this very group who has a good handle on their anger, and everyone else knows 0 to 1 other person who who can work with their anger, right? Who knows how to express it and who knows how to use it. Well, I hope to change that today. I don't want to bog you down with too much theory. I am going to give you some background knowledge, as I'm hoping to also shift some of your views on anger. But the focus is also on towards the end of the workshop, we are actually going to learn hopefully some new techniques and simple things we can do to help us get in touch with our anger and release it. So, okay, we now know that almost no one in this group is proud of themselves in how they deal with their anger, right? Let's take a deeper look at what it means. Think for a second what you're like when you're angry, and try to think. You don't have to chat, you don't have to type anymore. Just try to think for yourself what it looks like when you're angry, what kinds of situations make you angry, how has the pandemic and working from home and possibly homeschooling your kids, being 24/7 with your partner, what kind of impact has that had on you? Just take note where you are. And let's imagine that we have kind of this scale. And let's say that right here on this end, we have people who are kind of the cool kids, not getting upset very much. I'm too cool to even get angry, okay? I used to be one of them. So I hear you if you're closer to this spectrum. And let's say that right here, the other end, we have those that are very easily irritable, that are, they easily explode. They're kind of always almost on the edge. And they wouldn't be so angry if people weren't such idiots, right? These can be our bosses, sometimes our partners, one of our parents, right? And it's interesting how we respect and fear them and tend to trust their leadership. At the same time, we're not quite okay with their anger expression, right? But there's something admirable about it. So just again, take a moment to see where you fall if that is the spectrum. I've already told you that until recently, I was here. I didn't get angry, right? Too cool. But wherever you are, is okay. And that brings me to my first point for today. There we are. How you respond to anger is not your fault. And yes, you can change it, but I will get to that. Now, where I do want to share a bit of theory with you is when it comes to emotional development, we as humans are born with brains that are not finished developing. So human babies we're the only species in the world that's born with bodies that are complete. We continue to grow, right? But our brains are not finished in developing. Their development isn't finished. What that really means is that our emotional development, human emotional development, happens in the first few years of life, which makes the first few years of life paramount in our emotional setup. Now that today we are talking about anger, I have chosen this topic, but that really by no means means only anger. Any kind of emotional response, stress responses, you know, our system, neural system, and our brains are really being developed. There's few different stages. We're not going to go there today, but there's few different stages of our brain development, and parallel to that, emotional development, in which the experiences, external experiences, of course, something is, you know, genetic, epigenetic, but external experiences that we go through, the kind of experiences from birth, from what kind of birth our mother had, you know, what kind of experience it was for us and for her, all the way until 0 to 3, 4, 5 years of age, that actually shapes our emotional response system, if you will. Now, while let's say, if we talk about anger, that doesn't give you, you know, the blind card to say, well, okay, not my fault. Okay, we are still responsible for we can now take responsibility, in how we react, but it is not our fault. The initial setup, if you're very irritable, or if you're, you know, too cool to even get angry, which is not true, by the way, you are, but it's just you're dissociated from it, or anywhere else in between, is not your fault. As we go as children through these phases of development, they're, you know, as unique as we are as human beings, each phase brings very specific needs in a young human. You know, first it's a need for safety. We're not going to go too deep. There's all these different needs. Among them, when we're about, you know, come to those terrible twos, as we call them, you know, from 1.5 years of age to 3, the needs become more complex as our emotional development becomes more complex. And we come to the area that is maybe for all of us on this planet, a bit of a slippery slope, because we're talking about the need to be seen, accepted, validated. And this is often something we don't fully receive. At no fault of our parents, they are not able to give us what they hadn't received themselves. And so we perpetuate a cycle. What really happens the first time children experience anger, typically, first of all, no one teaches them how to work. We don't know how to work through our frustrations. We don't know how to handle it. And the second of all, children become very righteously angry when one of those big needs, to be seen, to be validated, to be, you know, mirrored in the correct way, when it's not fulfilled. Now, it's not the parent's fault that they don't maybe perhaps at that time have the capacity to help the child. But what happens is that the child gets angry. It's one of the emotions that overfloods the system. It's too much. Before we are fully emotionally developed, we don't have capacity to self-regulate. So we need that regulation from the parent. But because we don't know enough about these things, we're looking at the behavior of a child. The child seems to be disobedient, or, you know, they're having a temper tantrum, or, you know, whatever it is. And we kind of just try to correct the behavior, make them, you know, well behaved, and finish the story. The child remains righteously angry inside. And that is the root. Many of us still carry that anger, as I learned a couple of years ago when I started this exploration. The child is righteously angry, and yet it's no one's fault. So that is the root of some of our anger response. Now, different cultures, you guys are all from different backgrounds. Some of us are men, some are women. A lot of, many cultures, of course, they encourage boys a little bit more in showing and expressing their anger. Girls a little bit less, but the girls are allowed to cry more, to be sad more. It's much tougher for men to get in touch with those emotions, right? And it's like a coin with fear and sadness and anger. you're typically closer to 1. And to have a balanced emotional life, well, yes, we need to be balanced and in touch with both. That is a bit of a background how actually the first anger, we are forced to do something with it, and our system typically disassociate with it. We ignore it in order to stay in relationship with our parents. And so we go on. And we go on through life, again, back to our little, measurement, either completely unaware that we are angry, as a lot of us. I'm a woman too, so I'm sure that played a role. Or, anywhere towards being irritable, being easily angry, but really never processing the anger. You would think that someone who's at this end of the spectrum can actually do something with it, but the fact that they remain in that state just suggests that it's not happening. It is simply the way the system has been set up. Like with a stress response, the system has been set up that way to deal with frustration, or rather not deal with it. Again, like I said, this doesn't give us, it is still our issue. Wherever we are in the spectrum is still our issue, but it is not our fault. It is something that we carry. Which brings us to the second point that I want to stress today. Anger is really not the bad guy. And when I was preparing for this workshop, and I've talked to Dushan quite a bit, and and I'm sure in your backgrounds, professional backgrounds, and otherwise, we only really touch on anger when we talk about anger management, right? And we typically talk about anger when we're dealing with this side of the spectrum, so we think someone has an anger problem, they're more explosive, and so we send them to these workshops to learn how to communicate better, perhaps process something, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's really great, but it doesn't really do much for any of us in getting in touch with our anger and in processing it. And just because you're easily irritable says nothing about you being more angry than anyone else. And some of the anger management techniques are great, but I find that they don't really address the issue deep enough. Yeah, you go forward using those skills, but are you really in touch with how you're feeling and why it happens? One of the things that really shocked me once I started to release my anger, and it wasn't easy, and I'm going to show you in the end again kind of how that all started. It's at first I didn't know I was angry, right? I had no idea. I never knew, I would get upset very seldom. Very, very seldom. And if I did, it was more like this passive aggression. And I'm sure some of you are like, yes, yeah, I don't think I'm angry, but then I just get like really, bickering to my partner or someone. What's really shocking, once I realized that there was something there and that I started tapping into it, I was actually scared. I worked with it. I did some exercises. Turns out something's coming up, and I was scared to go there. That is why I called today's workshop Roar. I really wanted to make this point that we all need to find our place and space to roar. It was scary. I started to get in touch with it. A situation would come up, and all of a sudden now I felt my stomach firing up and this energy quickly accelerating to my throat. And I felt that my system was doing what it was always doing, poof, a lid. And I could feel a lump in my throat. And I couldn't find the voice to express it. And once I knew I was angry, I was scared of that emotion. Once I really started to get in touch with what happens in my body when that happens, I actually felt like if I let myself go there, it's going to be like King Kong destroying a city. I felt like I would just roar and kill. There would be dead bodies around me. And that was kind of another inner obstacle. So, okay, there's anger, but what do I do with it now? What happens? And the next shocking revelation is as you go deeper down that rabbit hole, because I found a way to go deeper. And again, I will share more with you as we move towards the exercise side of this. I realized that all this unreleased anger that was bottled up inside was actually blocked life force. And I have to tell you that the first time I had it was in a therapy session, which is also one of the things I will recommend towards the end of this. Once I had the first proper anger release session of hitting and punching and yelling, no judgment, no questions asked, I went berserk in that room during my therapy session. And the energy that came out, the blockages that got released that were decades old, I still lack the words to describe the fullness of life force that I felt. I really hope you get to experience that sometime soon. That is my mission today, to help you get to that place. Anger, whether it's suppressed or whether it's just, whether it's just kind of here and not fully dealt with in all of its aspects, is really blocked life force. And when we don't have the capacity to release it and to deal with it, what I found is also that it kind of it's like all these bricks, one on top of the next, one on top of the next, one on top of the next. It's something that builds up, and it's something that's very toxic for our bodies. Another important lesson that I've learned about anger is that it actually really speaks about us more than anything else. What do I mean by that? Generally, anger is a signpost that our boundaries are not in place, or that a violation of some kind is taking place. It is a healthy reaction, don't get me wrong. In a perfect world, it's not that we would never get angry. But, whether it's your child, whether it's your partner, whether it's your boss, whether it's that, jerk on the road who cut you, whoever it is, it's really a signpost for your inner emotional map, rather than something that needs to be addressed on the outside. And in that, boundaries is the main thing that you need to look at. If you can start tracking what type of situations make you angry, whether it simply you could have a situation where your boss is really mean to you without a reason, but obviously you don't feel like you could express that properly, right? You're in a workplace, so you're kind of already charged up, driving home, someone cuts you on the way. Ugh. So by the time you come home and your child crosses your path, you could potentially, we've all done it, take it out on them. And then that's possibly a signpost that you need to start releasing the anger in the moment, which none of us know how to do, as we've established earlier. And as what we're going to tackle towards the end of this, there is always something for us. The information about what makes us angry is there for us, not at a time when we're angry. When that emotion comes up, we need to release it. And that's another part of the skills you're going to walk away with today. We need to release it. At the moment, that's not putting the finger on your forehead and be like, oh, what's this about? Doesn't happen until it's released. So step number one is always release in a safe way, non-explosive way. We'll get to that. But the second part, once you're all cooled down, an hour later, 2 days later, it doesn't matter. There is information for you. And especially if you're on the, whether you're on the highly aggressive spectrum or on the passive aggressive spectrum, do look at your boundaries. Do look at your boundaries. Because typically, anger is just a sign that we didn't set a proper boundary to the world. And obviously someone came and crossed it, but they didn't know it was there. I'm working on that. That's perhaps a topic for another workshop. But it is a very clear insight about boundaries. So we are at the point number 3. The beautiful thing, this is the life hack that I wish I knew decades ago. I wish someone had told me that when it comes to anger, and even if we are aware of our anger, and even if we know that we are so angry at our mother or our father or our husband or whoever, the beautiful thing in releasing it and not being blocked and living a full life is that you do not actually need to go and resolve it with the person you're angry with. Why don't they teach us this stuff? I am, it has been such a freeing experience to know that it is not something we need to take it out with them, that it is something for us. If you're carrying a lot of anger from the past, it's something you can work on, whether whether it's your ex-husband or wife, whether it's your a parent who could be dead or alive, it doesn't matter. You working through these blocked emotions has nothing to do with them at all. Because if you're carrying some anger from the past, it's really you at that time, angry at that person at that time. It really doesn't have to spill over into the present. If it's spilling over into the present, it speaks about boundaries. So you simply didn't correct your boundaries. As an adult, as a grown-up, you didn't place your boundaries well enough for that person to stop doing whatever it is that's agitating you, that's really, that's making you fume. Now, as I also discovered through my own experience of anger release, yes, releasing anger, and that speaks to the point of being afraid to go there, even once we realize that there's something there. It is a very scary experience to go there, and a part of the reason is that anger can be very destructive. It definitely can be, and it often is very destructive. And so again, I would like to today to consider some of the safe ways. There are ways that you can, moving on from today, create some spaces, safe spaces, where you can release it, where you can teach your children how to release it, where, alone in therapy, through a martial art or something else. Again, we will get to that. But there are safe ways, and you need to, in addressing this topic, you need to make sure that there is a safe space for you to release your anger. And again, it's a life hack that these spaces and these ways are a lot closer than we thought. A lot closer than we thought. So I would love to now show you some of the specific exercises and ways to deal with anger. I have kind of grouped them in two parts, and by no way is this list exclusive. There's all these things that we could be doing, but I would like to invite you now to join me in the first part of this. Just make sure you have a bit of space. We're not going to be doing anything crazy. The first part is about, it's especially good for people who either have no clue that they're angry, or when they're angry, they're having a hard time getting in touch with it, or just as a general way of releasing stress overall, releasing, we're all highly stressed. It doesn't matter where you are. These exercises, very simple. You can do them at home. They're, just a lot of people, I've discovered in my group therapy that a lot of people are very shy to do this in a group setting. So I hope that most of you are currently in a position where you can do them, and do them alone. I have no problem in doing these things in front of people, but I know in my group that some people are kind of shy. It is completely okay to find a totally empty space, and it's very important that you're in a space where you can follow your own impulses. That's why I'm saying that. And obviously, if you, some of these things that we're going to be doing are can be kind of funny. So you want to make sure that you have the space where you feel like you can really listen to yourself and not worry what's going on. So in the first part, we're kind of just doing this like stress release, shaky exercises. And then in the second part of my tips, I will share very specific and share some very specific things you can do when you feel anger, whether you're at home, whether you're in the workspace, wherever you are. I've tried to compile a list of things that should be helpful no matter where you are. So I hope you can still hear me, because I'm going to stand a little bit and make a little space. We're going to start easy. Okay, and I'll be moving my camera up and down so that you can actually see my whole body. So I invite you to stand up with me. It's great if you can be barefoot. If not, that's fine too. I mean, in your socks or whatever, like remove your shoes. You know, your feet are a bit apart, kind of, you know, shoulder width, and they're not locked. And just gently, as you're standing, start shaking. You know, you're just kind of shaking. Normally, I would also do this with music, but I wanted you guys to hear me today. So I would put some African beats or something, you know, something with drums, something that really gets my blood boiling. But for today, we will do it silently. So we're just shaking, shaking, shaking. Listen to your body. There is no right or wrong way to do this. We're just shaking. I'm also, you know, I'm shaking my legs, kind of can be like a little twist, twist there. We're just shaking. We're just shaking. Don't be shy and don't be scared to let your voice out. Anything that's coming out. No, again, no right, no wrong way. We're slowly increasing tempo. You know, kind of jumping, hopping around, still shaking. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it all off. Shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it. You know, you can do it slower, you can do it faster. Obviously, if there was music, you know, you were doing it. You're not really dancing on a dance floor. You're just listening to your body and just shaking, just shaking. You're just everything you've been carrying all these days, this whole week. It's Friday. You know, just shake it, shake it off. Everything that doesn't belong in your body right now, just get rid of it. Shake your arms, shake your shoulders, release your neck, that tension. Shake your feet, shake your legs. Your knees are unlocked, they're relaxed. Just shake it. And in the next part, I like to grab an object. Now, you probably don't have pillows around. That's cool. Remember it as a great hack for home. In the next step, I would be dancing and shaking for about 3 to 5 minutes, you know, 1 song, 2 songs, follow your body. It's silly at first, but once you really get into it, you will find that it's really actually great. You want to keep going. So for the next part of this, I grab a pillow. I love doing the pillow thing. Some other people like doing some other stuff. I'm going to give you some suggestions and just start, nothing aggressive, but I start hitting with a pillow. I hit the chair. I hit the wall. You know, I'm still dancing. I'm still kind of jumping around. But hit it. The floor. And release your voice. Ha! 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 You can also kick. Listen to your body. Ha! 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 Can you feel your blood flowing? Ha! 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 If pillow doesn't work for you, that's okay. You can punch. Listen to your body. Just go with it. The point is to connect with your natural impulses. Just shake it, punch, kick, and release your voice. I like to do ha because that's my natural sound. For you, maybe it's something else. Ha. 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 I will be doing that for another 5 to 10 minutes. If I didn't want to spend all our time today on just exercising because I wanted to give you the background in theory as well. So that's why we're simply doing little samples so you guys can actually be able to do this on your own. So I will be back in front of the camera to show you the next. Actually, we can do a little bend first. When you want to wrap this part of kicking, showing, kicking, screaming, shaking, we kind of just bend and still shake it, but this time more softly. We're just, and again, the knees are not locked. We're gonna just shaking softly, more softly. You can go all the way down to the floor and just keep shaking more softly. Until you calm down. So this in totality, you can actually adapt it to yourself, to the time that you have. You can do it for 5 minutes, for 10, 15, 20. You can make a whole half-hour session out of it. Another important aspect that I actually, normally we would do it all together combined, but because we're on camera, I couldn't. I wanted you to be able to see it. It is very important to work on your facial muscles as well, to relax them, to release from your face also. So I'm actually going to do that on camera now. I will be typically doing it everything. While we are shaking, we're also working with the face. But I'm going to show you that step now. So we are just anything goes. You're really grimacing. Sorry, my throat is really dry. You're really, again, I'm not shy when it comes to this. Some people are. You're really just releasing anything that's in the face for a few minutes. Try massaging this part of your jaw, this part right here. It is, even after I've done so much of my anger releasing, I still find that if I'm massaging, if I press the correct spot, it is extremely painful still. That part and the throat are actually, beside our stomach and all the nerves in this area, is actually, these are really major blockages where anger gets stuck. A lot of the times when you're angry, it's not properly released. It's these places, here, that it stays with you. And so that is why also it is very important to use your voice as you go into these exercises, to really go, to really have that, we are really igniting that stuck energy that all of us have, no matter where we are in our on our anger scale. We're shaking, dancing to the music, jumping, kicking, possibly using a pillow, and we're also relaxing the face in any way possible. I'm going to stand up again to do a second exercise. This is a great one as well. Okay. So stand up and kind of first try to feel your space. Try to find your boundary. Is your boundary there? Is it here? Is it here? Where is it? Try to feel it around you. Where is your natural boundary? Where is it? Mine is like this. And once you know where your boundary is, you're going to imagine that there is a monkey on your back and you're trying to get it off. And in trying to get it off, you can only use your elbows in every possible direction. And you're trying to get it off. Again, don't forget about your voice. So something like this. Ha, 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 get off! Ha, whatever naturally comes to you. Get off! Get the monkey off. You can, you can turn. I'm not turning much so that I'm facing the camera, but you can turn in every way and go in any direction and just get that stupid monkey off your back. Get off! Get off! Again, use your voice. I know the first few times that you're doing this, it's awkward. The facial thing is weird. Letting the voice out for me was a big challenge. So if that's your case, I really understand. And all the more, I want to encourage you to find a safe space where you can. As challenging as it feels, because it's really crucial. Your throat has major blockages, and it is very important that you break through them. So get a monkey off. Again, it's just a demonstration. We would be doing this for longer if this was a full workshop on just the physical part of this. Perhaps you can see that I'm taking a great joy in doing these. And I remember how hard it was for me to do them at first. So if any part of this was really challenging for you, obviously not physical, not from the physical standpoint, these are all very simple, but whatever has been difficult for you, I really understand. And you can get here. As you can see, I'm now enjoying them. This is, I would release my anger all day long, which is probably a sign that I still have a lot to work with. But these immediately, once you kind of break through those few shy moments, few I'm lost moments, once you really start to get a handle on this, once you really start to feel, you learn how to feel that heated energy in your stomach, no matter what caused it. And once you're ready to go with it and to release it, help yourself release it, then the whole game becomes very different. So keep at it and find some good space to do it. Now, these are some exercises that I'm doing that I could be doing daily to release stress, to, if I'm not particularly angry, but I just want to kind of, just shake everything off after a tough day, tough week. These are really great. Let's, for the last part of our workshop, let's get to some tips what to do when we actually do feel angry in the moment. So there we are. It doesn't matter what's caused it. It really doesn't matter. We are feeling charged up. Okay. What I tend to do, because I'm working from home as well, by now, my husband, excuse me, my husband and my daughter know, I lock myself in the bedroom. I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. I grab my beloved pillow. I am personally a huge fan of the pillow. Okay. I love my pillow. And I go berserk on the bed. I kick and jump and scream and attack the bed with my pillow until I feel good. If, we also live in an apartment, so sometimes, you can't really go full on with the sound. It's totally okay to actually scream into a pillow. So pillows are your friend, okay, in anger release. So you just go, and that's great. That really works. So oftentimes, if I cannot do this, if I can't really use my voice, if I'm not in a place where that's okay, fine. I scream into a pillow, and that really works. You could, perhaps through these previous exercises, you've discovered that you really enjoy kicking, and you've discovered you like throwing another object. Like I said, these are by no means, these are just tips. You can just use whatever your body grabbed, and that release feels good. Use that. That's fantastic. I promise you will feel better after a few minutes. And the first few times it's kind of hard to feel it. It's kind of awkward, but trust me, after just doing it for 1 or 2 times, and you start kind of being in touch with your body more, the body is just going to tell you what you need. So you're going to close yourself into any room, even a bathroom, and do what you need to do to make yourself feel better. Now, you might not be at home. You might be in an actual office or in another public space. Great. You have a few options. Go into the public restroom and try at least to do some shaking and jumping until you're better. And a really great hack, if you don't have a scarf with you that you could possibly yell into, or something, you can even do that. Science is actually showing that just attempting, making an expression and attempting to scream, but without releasing the voice, actually for your brain is the same thing. So whether you do that, or whether you do that, or whether you without any sound at all, your brain thinks the same thing, and you're still releasing. So at a very minimum, you can close yourself into the restroom, do some shaking, and do until you feel better. Cars, I learned, are a fantastic place to release your anger. You can take your car anywhere. You're sitting. I'm not a driver, so this is just a hack I have for my friends. I'm not a driver. You can do all these things in your car: screaming, yelling, swearing. Swear words are your friend. Go crazy on the swear words, okay? There's no censoring here. Go into a deserted place, a forest, if there is a forest nearby. You could also try signing up for a little Muay Thai class, martial art class. There is TRE technique that is also very good. You probably have TRE practitioners around where you are. Another fantastic thing that I could wholeheartedly recommend is, if you start doing this, if you feel this pent-up anger, if you're afraid to go there on your own, like I was, great, go do it in therapy. Go seek a good, reliable therapist. I recommend therapists that do, body-oriented therapy, that actually incorporate that this what we're doing right now. It is not just sitting and talking about your life. We are actually working with the body, and that will provide a safe space and some guidance in releasing stuff that's really deeply rooted, that I understand if you don't feel like you can handle it on your own, and you shouldn't. And it's okay to know, had I known that I could actually go, there is a therapist where I can go and kill something and feel amazing afterward. And there's no damage in my private life, and there's no, toxic stuff in my body. That would have been, amazing, but it's here now. I want to open the floor. We're almost at the top of the hour. I could talk more about these tips, but I want to open the floor if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you're walking away with a at least somewhat shifted view on anger, and with some tips and resources on what you can do to live more fully. Let me see. If an anger, we have a question. If an anger becomes emotional start, right? It all comes in the okay. Can you please clarify? If an anger becomes emotional start, it comes all the time to think about, even unable to come. You're so. If I understand it right, sometimes your anger is consuming so much that you're kind of stuck in your head and not even able to sleep, right? Yes. Okay. Okay. I would recommend doing everything, you need, because anger is not, you're thinking about perhaps stuff that have offset it, but it's really your emotions from the inside signaling that you need to work with them. Thinking about it is not going to resolve it. Definitely try these exercises that we have tried and more. I've also, for someone who never got angry and who really despised boxing and all of that, I cannot wait to go back to Thailand, and I'm actually going to sign up for Muay Thai. I have discovered this newfound love for punching. Definitely try to find a hobby, or like a boxing, or a way to start working with the body and releasing it. And please don't be shy to go seek therapist's help in releasing it. So no, not go to therapist and say, well, I have an anger problem. Try to find a body-oriented therapist, and you can say, okay, I've started working with this. My anger sometimes keeps me awake. I've started doing these things, and actually when I'm doing them, I'm feeling better, but I feel there's like a lot more inside. Can we work with that? Does that help? Okay, hold on. Something is in Q&A, so something is in the chat. Let's see. I'm now back into the chat. Let me know if that helps. Okay, let me look at the questions. Writing helps a lot, especially when angry with myself. Yes, for sure, for sure. But don't forget to incorporate working with your body as well. Just do some shaking, do some releasing. That is why, free your roar. See what it feels like to actually express your anger through your body. Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, writers are crazy that way. Being vulnerable comes naturally. Links videos onto how to release anger. Hold on. You can contact me an email. I'll try to compose something. Definitely look up TRE, which is great. TRE is great. I can also send this, Dushan can send you this a little presentation just with reminders. Type of martial art: boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai is great because it's all, the art of the 8 limbs. So we're using all. Like I said, I'm a new fan. How to stop anger during the conversation? Okay, great question. Can you? Can you? I need a timeout. Honestly, now that I'm in touch, you can, if you just, and sometimes you're going to have to stay with your old ways of just putting a lid on it, right? I mean, there are just some situations where you can't, but try to get a timeout as soon as possible. Head to the bathroom stall, and how do you deal with anger bursts with reasons still unexpectedly? Same. Release, release, release. Your goal is to really find any way to release when it happens, to get in touch and release. Then when you are calm, okay, then we can, okay, I'm gonna sign up for boxing for next week and I'm gonna talk to my therapist. Okay, first we need to release, because the moment there's a lid on it, or the moment that we're boiling like this for weeks, nothing good can happen. Our system is actually worked up. Our system cannot process it. Spell TRE, right? Just TRE. I think that's referring to TRE. Tension and trauma releasing exercises. Tension and trauma releasing exercises. My email is on the screen. I'm sorry, as I'm reading questions, that you can't see that, but you will get this presentation from Dushan as well. And you can reach out with any questions. And I've closed the chat box. Hold on. Let me go back to the chat box. Okay. There's an Israeli martial art. Okay, I imagine it will be good. 8 body muscles technique. How do Muay Thai? Sorry, I always living in Thailand, I always think everyone knows Muay Thai, M-U-A-Y, that's one word, and then Thai, Muay Thai, the art of the 8 limbs. Yes, Dushan has already corrected my email address. And someone has already spelled Muay Thai, and we are, I wanted to keep it shorter, but there we are. I had so much to share with you today. Thank you so much.
Dear participants, thank you for attending. And dear Yelena, thank you so much. This was so powerful. Let me just tell you, I had a stressful day, but I was doing every single exercise you were showing us, and I already feel much better. I just want to say that. Thank you. I will keep doing all the exercising you showed us. That was amazing. And let me remind you that the recording of this webinar will be posted next week on MCS Language Solutions YouTube channel.